Welcome to the Troy Kearns podcast. We discuss real estate investing, entrepreneurship, and business to help you retire and become financially free. Make sure you share this podcast with someone who could benefit from it and leave us a 5-star review. It truly helps me out. This show will mentor you towards financial freedom. If I can do it, so can you.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Millionaire Mentorship podcast. Today, I've got one of my all-star students and coaches, Tony Fifer. I met Tony. He was the only guy that showed up to the Top Golf meetup I had like 2 years ago.
Yeah, about 2 years ago.
Yeah. So he's asking my advice about real estate. I gave him some advice. He didn't take it and did what he wanted to do anyways. But he's been a killer. Tell him about yourself.
Yeah, so I met Troy kind of off of the YouTube. You know, I saw his post on Instagram, and I saw it and saw that it was pretty close. It was like an hour and a half away, and so I just decided, hey, why not pull up and meet the guy finally after watching your content, I don't know, for about a year and a half. And then, I saw he moved to KC, and, I was out in Bellevue, Kansas, so it was about an hour and a half away. So, I decided to pull up and meet the guy for the first time. Yeah.
And what were you doing during that time?
Yeah, prior to joining Troy's group, I was just buying rentals and working a day job, working, 60, 70, 80 hours a week.
What were you doing?
Factory job, just kind of production labor, demolding stuff out of molds and putting it onto conveyor belts and sending it down the line.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that. So how old are you?
I'm 24.
24.
Yeah.
Pretty cool all you've accomplished at 24, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, it is really cool. You're now a multimillionaire, right? Or
right.
At least
really close.
Okay.
It's really close.
Yeah,
it's
pretty exciting, right?
Within $100,000.
Within $100,000 of
two. Yeah.
I was gonna say, because I know you already passed one.
Yeah.
So, and
the second one comes a lot faster.
The second one does
a lot easier.
Yeah. So when we met, you were working at a factory. You're working like a dog, right?
Yeah.
How many hours a day?
16 to 17, 18. Really as many as they would let me.
What is the name of that factory?
Onyx.
And what do they make?
Pretty much like shower surrounds and bathroom sinks and vanities, stuff like that.
Has that become good? Has that become a connection for you in your?
Yeah. It's you can get some product out of there, and every once in a while rejected product,
Okay, that's cool. So you were working there, and you worked there straight out of high school, or what?
Yeah, straight out of high school. Actually, before I was done with high school, I started there.
So you've been there a while.
Mm-hmm. I think it was 7 years.
What got you interested in real estate?
It was probably the thing that I saw like the most amount of wealth in. Like the most amount of people that had consistently high net worths that had money. Were in real estate. I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely the money.
Anybody can do it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, if I can do it, you can do it. Yeah,
100%. Like you just got to be driven.
Mm-hmm. Driven and consistent. Consistent is the biggest thing. Is like just being willing to keep the time, but also just every single day hit it for, like you said, it only takes about an hour, maybe 2 hours a day, and you can do it with a full-time job too.
Well, you worked 17, 18 hours a day.
For sure.
And that's not a joke. What was your base salary? Let's just go through there. Were you hourly or salary?
Hourly. So it was hourly, and then we had a bonus. It's kind of weird. So you had a daily bonus. So it was kind of off of like what the company's, amount of product they produced for the day. So you had a bonus, and then you had hourly, and then you had a really high overtime. So like their overtime rate was like, instead of a normal overtime rate of 1.5, it was like 2.75. So our hourly wage was pretty low, but our overtime was where we killed it.
So they encouraged you guys to work overtime.
For sure.
And you worked as much as possible.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay. And so even with that, how much real estate had you acquired prior to joining our group?
Prior to joining your group, I had like 13 units, maybe 12 or 13 units. I think
pretty good portfolio.
Yeah, decently. Okay.
What were you cash flowing?
At that time, probably nothing. Probably zero. Actually, it was probably negative.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I had vacant units at that time, and
because you were putting all the money in real estate, but you didn't have any time to manage it.
No time to manage it, and I had a management company. I still have a management company for majority of it, but.
Where you guys work at?
Probably eventually, yeah, take it in-house. I think that'd be the best thing.
Nobody cares about your money more than you do.
True, very true, very true. Yeah, yeah, and even if you can negotiate the rate down, then you sacrifice on the tenants, and you sacrifice on
The rate is not where you get killed. You know where you get killed?
the fees,
Nope.
the vacancy.
Nope.
Where do you get killed?
Repairs and maintenance.
Repairs and maintenance. That's true.
So think about who's working for that property manager. Are they an owner or are they a tenant?
They're probably a tenant.
Probably a tenant. So when somebody calls them and says, my furnace doesn't work, do they say, hey, go check the battery, go check the air filter, go check all that stuff? Or do they say like, okay, let me send someone?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why managing it yourself, as an owner, you're always like, well, so I always suggest managing it yourself. Now, don't tell people that you're the manager, that you're the owner.
Right.
Just say that you're the manager. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly still what you are. You're managing your LLCs, you're
That's right.
managing, this entity that exists out there, or as corporate, however you own it.
Yeah, as many rentals as you have. If you've got one or two, I would say just like if you're starting and you've got an employer, go ahead and have somebody manage it until you get to the point where you can bring it in-house. And in-house, it's like you really don't need to do much.
Yeah, it's just lease up and take care of some maintenance calls when they do come, and they're, the whole thing where you get called at 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning about a clogged toilet is such a farce.
I've never have.
Yeah,
I never have been called at 1 o'clock.
and I've had 150 tenants at this point, and I've never gotten called. No, yeah, I've had a management company, but you never get those.
They ain't getting called either.
Yeah,
Everything's done digitally these days, anyways.
right. That's true.
Appfolio. They're making a maintenance request.
Yeah,
And if there's an emergency 911, call the fire department.
true.
Because that's what's happening. I had a house burned down this week.
Oh, you did? How'd that go?
I don't know. I haven't been there yet.
You have insurance? Is that another one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's me and my partners actually, but they have tenants insurance, so I think we're okay.
You think you're okay?
We paid $49,000 for it.
Okay. Well, hopefully the cash flow covered it. What's the lot worth?
Oh, probably. I don't know, but
Like
I think we have tenants insurance, so I'm gonna hold out. Last time I got a tenant insurance claim like that, it was like 150, 200 grand.
Okay.
So that should, if that works out. So
What is it, 1,000 square foot home?
I don't even remember, dude. We own so many of them out here. I have no idea.
Oh, was it here or was it
Yeah, it was
back
here in Kansas City.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was the tenant caused it. That's the thing is most of the time your house is burned down. It's not it's on accident, but it's not like non-human error. It's not
Right.
like a lightning bolt's gonna strike the damn thing.
Right.
It's like so we'll see what happens there. I told the bus tour to drive us by there. I haven't been by there yet, so
Good way to maximize your time.
that's true. I wasn't thinking about that. I just want to show people what could happen.
Yeah. No, I haven't had one burned down, but
Oh, it'll happen.
yeah, it will happen. It
Yeah,
will
it's just
happen.
make sure you get your insurance, and it is what it is. I don't even like when Eddie had to bring up to me that because he knew about my house in Birmingham getting burned down. When he was like, "Hey, man," I was like,
Eddie was the one that told you about it?
"Yeah." He had to tell me because his dad was the one working on the house.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So,
Oh, and his dad didn't have the balls to come tell you.
well, I don't know about that. Shout out Eddie.
Oh,
So you joined the program. We started teaching you. What was your biggest initial takeaway?
yeah, start doing flips, I mean, real estate doesn't cash flow unless you get it paid off, really is what the biggest thing. And so once
Nobody
you start,
says that ever, do they?
no, everybody's just like borrow, burr, and buy the next deal. And yes, it's great to burr, and it's great to, acquire all these houses and watch the debt slowly pay down. But as soon as you get one maintenance call that, or it's mainly turnover, but you got to fix up that unit, you're pumping the money back in. It's not really the maintenance calls that really hurt you. It's the turnover that I think that
All of that.
Eats
Yeah, the turnover, the maintenance calls are probably your biggest thing. Between the turnover and the maintenance.
yeah, and that and insurance with houses with loans on it, insurance just keeps stacking up. I mean, I remember I've been doing this for 3 years now, and man, my first insurance policies were like $500, $600, $700. Now they're in the 8s and 12s and 15s, and it's just
Well, that's why I don't worry about it. We have 100 properties here. We have insurance on none of them. So
because you got them all paid off.
yeah. So if one burns down,
and probably that one that burns down, you could probably, and the insurance company's got to be making money, on, the amount
They're like
of
the
money.
most profitable companies out there.
That and credit cards.
Yeah, I think insurance might be more so.
Really, percentage-wise?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, insurance companies back most of the real estate holdings in commercial real estate.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Because you think about it, number one, they mandate laws. They mandate that. Okay, so look at this as tenant insurance. If the bank is requiring you to have insurance on their asset, right?
Right.
Because it's their asset, not yours.
Right.
Would you agree?
Yeah. No, really.
So if you're the landlord, play the same game, pay it off. You become the bank and make sure that they have insurance on your property.
By having tenant insurance?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's very true.
All right. So you start flipping. You start flipping. Let's talk about, when was your first year flipping?
Oh, my first year flipping was probably 2023?
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, 2023.
How much money did you make flipping?
$490 or something.
$490,000. That's after taxes, right?
Yep.
Because you didn't have to pay any taxes like you do with your W-2 job.
Right, yeah. I did have to pay a little bit because I still have my W-2. So I did have to pay a little bit on that flip. So it was probably down to like 400s or something. But we were able to do some tax stuff.
Are you using my guy?
I'm not yet, but this year I think I cleaned up my books enough that he'll probably...
Let him clean it up. That's what you're hiring for.
Okay.
Dude, people wait on that too long. It's the biggest mistake that you could make.
Really?
Oh, yeah. 100%. Like, I wouldn't... That is the single best decision I made. I got
So
audited.
just get somebody to keep track of your books and just send it to them?
Yeah, that's what you want to do. In fact, we probably have someone that you can use. I've got it. My partner picked up somebody off Upwork, $40 an hour, and probably with your books, probably.
And they're just able to grab all your accounts and throw them all in.
And then you just send that to the accountant, and you need to cost segregate all your rentals so you don't pay any money on the flip. So first year $490, 2024. How much do you do in flips?
I think I'll probably get to 800 in flips and maybe another 400 in new construction. So probably right around there.
You mean 2025?
Oh yeah, 2025.
So how'd you do in 2024? Are you talking like when you started from 2023 all the way to the end of 2024, you did 490?
490 in 2024.
$490,000 in 2024.
2023, maybe 100 and something in flip money. I would have to go back and look.
So I told you what? Quit
my job. Yeah, that was definitely a good advice. And start flipping more. Start flipping a whole lot more. Don't sit around and wait for the rentals. The rentals will come, and definitely stack them. It's hard, when you can see you can make that quick 40 grand instead of,
It's a discipline.
To rent. It is a discipline.
It's a discipline.
It is a big discipline.
That's the thing, is like you have to develop that discipline, because otherwise you just have a high income job. Even if you flip and make less money, but you buy more rentals for cash, you're going to do better in the long term.
True. And even if you can just save on the taxes is the biggest thing from the rentals.
Well, you should pay no tax. If you're paying any taxes and you're flipping, you're doing it wrong.
How about the people that have a W-2 still?
Well, that's fine. They can pay the taxes. But even if they do it the right way, they should have professional real estate status, so they should be able to recapture that W-2 income from, like, if you go in, let's say you make $800,000 in taxes this year. Now, what you should do is you should leverage on those types of deals, meaning borrow.
Borrow on your flips?
No, borrow on your rentals when you're flipping, because it's just a tax play. Right. So you buy the bigger stuff, like I told you, I think to get an SBA loan and get yourself a warehouse or something like that. So let's say you did that, you get a 10% down loan, you go and you borrow and say you buy a $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 warehouse. So you're 10 grand in or 20 grand in or 30 grand in or 40 grand in, you're leveraged, but you're able to cost segregate that. And then you take the other ones and you buy the cheap little houses. So I say leverage on the big stuff, buy that little cheap houses for cash, so that you can take the massive.
Right.
But what happens is that, let's say you took $1 million in losses on that $800,000 in income. Now, that bleeds into your W-2 job. So now if you paid $120,000 in your W-2 job in taxes, let's say, you're going to be able to recapture that, because everything goes to your bottom line. As long as you have real estate professional status.
Okay. But how does somebody get that when they have, working that 40 plus hours a week? How do
They have to prove that they are now moving into this job and they're working more in this job than they are working there. And they probably should quit their job if they're at that point in time. That's why I said you should definitely quit your job just for the tax reasons alone. But you should be to the point where you're paying no taxes. If you're paying any taxes, that's too much. It means that A, you're not buying enough rentals, or B, you're not using the right accountant, or a combination thereof.
It's a combination of thereof.
Yeah. So now you just mentioned you're going to do $400,000 in new construction. Mm-hmm. So you're doing some new builds?
Yeah, doing some new builds. So
For yourself, spec build?
So I'm building, I don't know, 21 units right now.
21 unit or 21 different?
21. So it's 3 duplexes, a 5 unit, and then a 10 unit. So it's all separate individual spots. They were lots that I picked up with houses, and they were just adjacent, and they just happened to have the right kind of zoning on it. So pretty much I bought majority of the land for free, because, I already made the money from, selling the homes off. So I think we got like 1 or 2 homes left to sell off there. And so that's kind of how I got into that. Now that's not going to be the
Are you going to sell them or
400 grand. No, those are just adding to my rentals. And that'll probably give me my most amount of tax write-offs from those being new construction. They're going to get the highest value.
why build new construction out there? What are they worth?
That is a good question. Probably because I had the lots and I just decided that I'd make more money if I built them. It's easier doing new construction sometimes because you can kind of do more of them at once and kind of systematize it.
For sure.
Where flipping, it's more the individual project. I feel like there's more crews sometimes around new construction than there is for flips. And the side of that kind of got me into it is there's probably, percentage-wise, you're probably not as great as like some of the flips that I've done. Like some of the flips I've done where we put, 80, 90, 100 grand in. Like one of them I'm doing on Morningside where, we're putting probably about 110 into this total. And this thing's going to sell for like 215. So percentage-wise, you're never going to get that in a new construction, but you'll get that in flips.
Are you selling or holding all your new construction?
I will hold those 21 units, but then I'll probably do 4 or 5 like kind of spec builds.
Spec build duplexes?
No, just single family homes and sell those off.
Okay. Now, do you know about what you're walking into there?
I've done, 3 spec builds so far.
How have you done on them?
Decently okay. I'd say we probably around probably a 20% rate of return on them.
Oh, you see, in flips, he's talking money. In new construction, he's talking rate. What's the profit, though?
Profit
dollars.
Probably 30 to 60s, 70s.
On what risk?
On a whole lot of risk. Probably double the amount of money. Yeah, maybe I should reconsider my new construction ventures, but
no, I think that here, don't let me dissuade you. Let me just educate you on my new construction, because we've all been, when I mean we all, I mean guys who are older than you who do what you're doing right now have all tried what you've tried. Mm-hmm. The only thing I haven't done is build a bunch of duplexes and quadplexes. I've owned a bunch of them. The only reason I asked why new construction quadplexes in that area is like, what kind of a tenant are you attracting there?
Believe it or not, you do get some really good tenants out there.
Like, what are they paying for rent?
Probably like $1,500.
Wow, that's for per month?
Yeah.
For a single unit in a duplex?
Yeah.
That's a pretty good rent.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like
duplex with a garage.
Oh, you got a garage in it too?
Yeah.
You're going top tier.
I don't know if I'm going top tier, but
It's got a garage.
It probably
None of
costs
my
me about
duplexes or quadplexes ever had a garage.
$200,000 to build a duplex right now, and
So 100 aside?
yeah, 100 aside, and then it's probably renting for $3,000 a month.
And how big is that duplex?
Probably, I think we have one. I'd have to look at the designs, but they're probably like around like 1,200 square feet total, or for each side,
Okay.
including garage.
And you got is the garage attached or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
At the bottom?
probably the best way. Well, so the garages are in the front, and then one unit's down below and one unit's above. It was just a narrow lot. Then the other 2 are garages are on the back off the alley, and then you kind of got a pretty steep approach to the
How much are you paying the architect on each one of these deals?
Probably 2,000.
That's cheap.
It is cheap. It is cheap. It's
How much you
pretty
paying an engineer?
good. We don't have to get an engineer out there.
Oh, you don't? In Bellevue?
No.
That's good. Is it?
And then you do have to get them in Wamego. So when I do the fiveplex and that, so I think the fiveplex costed me like $3,200 in designs, and then probably around exactly the same. So it's probably like 6,000 in engineering.
6,000 in engineering.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long does it take you to finish those?
Probably 4 to 6 months.
That's fast.
It is fast, and I try to crank through. That's the only way you can be profitable.
I was gonna say
Any construction project it's all about speed. The longer you go, the more and more interest you start to pay.
Well, yeah, 55 days is like what DSLD and DR Horton and Lennar all shoot for. They try to
55 days.
do under 60, which is like with no waste.
Yeah, no cheating.
Yeah, no waste. So you're cranking fast. Who's running those jobs for you?
I use my brother a lot, and then project managers probably work the best. Sniping project managers from other builders and stuff like that is probably your best bet to scaling that.
So walk me through how it goes. Like, okay, you guys have a schedule?
Yeah, you try to stick to a schedule. Now, I mean, rain and that kind of stuff, throws you off. Where flipping, usually you can go back to the inside, where new construction, it's all outside until you get it boxed in. So, once you build your schedule, you got to get your financing lined up, or your cash, or however it is. And then you're probably, waste, 5 or 6 days going through permitting. And then after you get permitting started, then you got to have your designs prior to that and all that stuff. So probably when you're acquiring the lots, it's a good time to start working on your designs and making sure that the city wants to work with you. And then after you acquire the lot and everything, then you get your permitting. Usually after that, you want to be talking to the city prior to that, making sure that, what you want to build is going to work. And then, you're off to the races. So it's dirt work, it's, foundation, then your framers, then
Okay, let's go dirt work. How much does dirt work cost?
Dirt work, man, you could be $4,000 a slab to $8,000, depending on, your
That's just for compacting it.
bringing in your sand, or some municipalities require some kind of like crushed concrete, so that'll be more money. But in my municipality, they require sand, and then your footers. It's kind of a variation of pricing on that. You'll find some guys that are $100 a foot for footers. Some guys are a little higher. Some guys are a little lower.
But this is your dirt work.
That's your dirt. So you got dirt work. That was dirt work. So I'd say for like a 2,000 square foot building, you're probably around 4,000 for dirt work.
For dirt work, and then you got your concrete.
Concrete, you're about $7 a square foot so if it's 1,000 square foot slab, it should be around $7,000. I would say that's
including footers.
That doesn't include footers. Your footers will be on top of that. So maybe it would be around 8,000 or 9,000. And then framers, you're probably around like $10 a square foot.
$10 a square foot. Damn.
For framers. And then
Habla español?
Yes, all the
They're
way.
$10 a foot?
Yeah. You think that's high?
I mean, I know it's high, but it's not high for Kansas and Missouri. But we were paying $4 to $5 a foot. And in Houston, Texas, they still pay that.
Really?
But when it was high in New Orleans, was 7.
7
was high.
Wow. How long ago was that? Which it shouldn't go up that much, but
I mean, 7 up until COVID.
7 up until COVID.
But I still try to pay yesterday's prices no matter what I'm doing.
I agree.
I can't win on gasoline and stuff like that, but on labor you can.
True.
Especially if you're starting to get a lot of the guys.
Right.
So that's every piece of framing. That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing framed in. That includes your windows, siding.
Okay.
All of that. At least how my framer does it. So
Okay. Well, that's not that bad. So he's including. Is he doing your roof too?
No roof. Well, he'll deck the roof.
We need to get him to do the roof too.
Maybe.
I said, dude, I've been screwing up. I thought that thing was supposed to include the roof, dude. I'm losing money on this deal. You're up there, put the freaking shingles on. How much is your roof?
80 or it's $45 a square or something is what we're paying, and then 85 for tear off and install.
Okay.
So am I a little off or a little high there?
You know, here's the thing I always think. Anytime it's a square footage, it's never going to favor you.
Never going to favor you. That's a good point.
You know, anytime somebody says square foot, I said, stop talking. Because it's never going to favor you.
That's true, because they're not really bidding the project. They're just bidding the labor and probably putting in a bunch of their buffer zones that they know.
Well, if you think about it, like I was thinking about this the other day, and we were talking about, like, you're like, hey, I need to get some extra money in there. If you're going to bid, the best to your advantage is always going to be price per square foot as the construction guy if you're going high.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Right? You can't lose if you know that where that number needs to be.
True.
But for me as the guy, I just want the cheapest price. And it's never going to be based on the price per square foot.
True. Yeah.
So like when granite guys tell me it's 45, 25, 30 bucks a square foot, I said, stop talking. I said, I'm going to pay you $1,000. Like your paint guy, what does he charge you?
So one guy bids it, and then the other guy, he's pretty firm at his $5 a square foot. But you know, I try to work them down as much as possible. But
I think you're going to be able to save some money. Like, so it sounds like you're making $30,000 in spite of overpaying a little bit.
probably true. Yeah, and if we got those,
So good on you.
down, it would.
And
probably
now you have, but here's the thing that you have to your advantage. I want to keep going through the numbers, but here's the thing that you have to your advantage. You're brand new. And you're doing a lot of dollars, and you're a little bit naive to the pricing.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way. I'm not trying to talk down to you. I'm just saying, like, you don't know.
Right.
So now you're kind of the big fish, aren't you?
I don't know. Maybe.
Aren't you sending these guys a lot of work?
Yeah, they're a decent amount. I would say
That's when you renegotiate.
You know, 1 or 2 jobs. You know, guaranteed a month.
Who else has said more than that much work?
There's probably not that many.
So when do you renegotiate? When you got leverage. You can't renegotiate in the beginning because you don't have any leverage. Now you're feeding all these guys' families.
Right.
It's like, hey, I got another guy up in Kansas City who's willing to travel and do it for $7 a foot. His name's Guillermo. All right, so that's okay. So the roof you're paying $45 a square.
Yep.
That includes material.
No, that doesn't include material.
How many squares on an average roof?
How many squares are in an average roof? Man, that varies big time.
So 15 to 20 square. So what's a roof cost you in dollars?
Probably $1,200 for the material and $2,100 for tear off and install.
Okay,
So
what
probably
about
around
new construction?
$3,500, and then a new construction's sub $3,000s.
Okay.
I would say we're probably.
So you're getting a good price.
Yeah.
On
I'd
that,
say-
you're getting a good
say
price.
We're probably.
That you're getting a good price. Do not renegotiate with your roofer. He's giving you a great deal. Your roofer is giving you a fantastic.
But I would say like all day long, I can build for under $100 a square foot.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a great price.
Yeah.
All day long.
All day long. Unless there's just some like random ass like slope to the thing where I got to put in a shitload of dirt work, or if it's, you know, something. But
Are you guys willing to travel?
Yeah.
Let's build some houses out here. If you're going to build under $100 a foot,
Yeah.
because
You can definitely get under $100 a foot.
not out here.
100%. 100% you can get under $100.
Yeah, I just don't have time to manage it. It's hard to build for under $100 a foot these days.
I think
The
you gotta buy
lumber
from-
prices were, the last time I built was COVID.
Menards is the trick for the lumber prices. Go to Menards. Don't go to your, you know, lumber supply house.
Well, we go to Home Depot. They give us pretty good prices.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but I would check out Menards as well.
Okay. Yeah. I would say like my last lumber package was like $22,000 from
Yeah,
Menards.
you know, mine was on my house,
I don't know. Probably. Well, yours, how many square feet?
6,200.
6,200. So probably.
This was COVID. You never built during COVID.
I didn't build during COVID. I'd say
it should have been
140.
It should have been 65.
Should have been 65.
Guess what it was?
150.
At 100.
250.
Yeah. That's how much.
What was your framing package, or like what was your framing labor on that thing?
Oh God, I don't even remember. It was probably 80 grand.
Lots of LVLs. I've never been to your house set up.
Everything.
It's got
every angle that
You
you.
do trusses or you stick frame it?
We did trusses. I like stick framing way better.
Stick framing the roofs and everything.
I like stick framing everything. I don't like trusses.
Yeah, yeah. I'd say Menards is probably your cheapest for trusses. You buy it through like Menards, but I don't know. There's probably some.
Man, $100 a foot. Yeah, we should definitely talk if your guys will travel because I got a bunch of stuff I want to build.
Hey, thank you so much for tuning into our podcast right now. I am so
happy that you are here. You are in the right spot to be getting inspired by other people that have just achieved their goals so that you can achieve your goals. Do me a favor. Leave us a 5-star review. It really helps us grow. And give us comments and feedbacks. We read those. It helps us grow. The most important person in this podcast is the listener, right? And so if you give us your feedback, it will allow us to create a better podcast for you. And make sure you enjoy the show and leave us a 5-star review. What kind of finishes and stuff are you finishing there? Oh, your drywall guys, what are they charging you?
I think we're paying 70 cents finished, so hanged and finished. 35 and I think it's 30 or something for hanged and finished. So 30 cents to hang and 35 cents. No, square foot.
Okay.
So I don't know what that's per square feet or
so
per sheet, because
per square foot, 35 cents to hang and finish it.
Yeah, and I'd say my average house is under like $4,000 to hang and finish.
Okay, and then your painters charge you $5?
Yeah, it's probably do some negotiating there. And then plumbers are hard. Plumbers, finding licensed plumbers is one thing that you do struggle with new construction, because you're tapping into the sewer lines and you got to find which ones are that, and HVAC guys. HVAC guys are a bear.
HVAC guys are a dime a dozen.
That's true, but
a good plumber is hard to find.
Yeah, good plumbers are hard to find, and that will come back.
Charge you?
Man, on my first two, I felt like I overpaid, and it was like $22,000 per home. And I think now I could probably get it down to around $12,000 per home.
No, you definitely overpaid them if you can do it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you gotta pay sometimes too much just to learn.
And to learn and to also keep the projects, like new construction, the last thing you want is, the home to get delayed, and if you can't move syncretized with, each stage of the construction project, it really messes you up. Yeah. So moving very systematically really helps.
So you guys are building the new construction. What makes you more money, a flip or a new construction?
Per each one, probably it comes out to probably be around the same.
Really?
But you use a lot more capital with new construction. I would definitely say that. But then there's also, in Kansas, you have a 1 year, you have to warranty the product. So if you build it, you're on the hook for at least 1 year, minimum, unless, the contract says otherwise. But who's going to waive a 1 year, inspection when it's, state law or whatever it is?
Yeah.
So
you've done a bunch of those. How many have you sold?
We've sold probably like 4.
4?
Yeah.
Where do you feel like you messed up, made mistakes?
Probably definitely from like the start, not price shopping stuff around, and, not sticking to where, you think you can actually get it, and just kind of going with that first bid, always try to go get, 2 or 3 bids. That'll give you kind of your best idea. And then also, don't let anything, slow down the project. Hey, if it costs, $300 or $400 more, maybe go with that extra bid just to make sure that the project keeps moving, at a quick pace. The last thing you want is it just be out there in the wind, open. And then also being on top of, ordering your materials, ordering your windows and that kind of stuff, especially if you're doing a custom where you have, window sizes that are custom sizes, and you need to order those 3 or 4 or 5 weeks ahead. You want to make sure that those are on site, and make sure that your framer or your window installer, whoever that is able to get those in on a timely basis.
So now you're doing well. So you're becoming a multimillionaire pretty quickly. Where do you see yourself headed in the future?
I want 10,000 units. That's the big goal.
Is it really?
10,000 units.
Do you think anything's going to change that goal?
I don't think so. I hope not. But
where did the number 10,000 come from?
10,000. If each one cash flow is 5,000, that's $5 million a month. That's $50 million a year. 60 million, but you're probably going to have some vacancy. Okay. So, if you minus out that vacancy.
Oh, you're taking vacancy. Okay.
50 million, and that's, 1 million a week. That's what I want. So.
You want to make $52 million a year?
Yeah.
What do you want to do with that money?
Cars are what got me into money. It was cars.
What kind of car you want? So you kind of told me. So it's funny is I'm going back and forth about the 911 and the McLaren. Then you said McLaren, and then my buddy is like, "You gotta get the 911, bro." Like, 911. He's like, because
I've never driven it.
That's what he said. He goes,
probably
people come back driving the McLaren and their back hurts.
Yeah.
And the 911 you can drive as a daily driver.
Yeah.
And the McLaren is like,
why don't you get like a GT3 RS or something?
The Porsche?
Yeah.
I don't want a $300,000 Porsche.
No, there's like 5.
Okay. So what's the top car that you like?
Probably like a Koenigsegg Jesko.
Wait, I think I saw what you were driving when I first met you. What were you when I first met you?
Toyota Corolla.
That's what I saw, like
smashed the hell
like
up.
a 2001 or something. Right?
2007 with 255,000 miles.
You still got that?
I still have it, yeah.
Would you roll
But
it?
then I also have a truck that probably should have bought, but yeah.
No, you definitely should have bought the truck. You deserve to buy the truck, and you get bonus depreciation on it.
True.
What'd you buy the truck for?
It was probably like 94,
What year?
24.
Nice. You deserve that. Like, I will not say that to a lot of people, even though I waited until I was 40. 40
I
years-
should have waited till I was 40.
Even though I waited until I was 40 years old, I wasn't going as fast as you were. Mm-hmm. You're going super fast, and you're going to write that off as 100%.
Right.
And you deserve it, and you've
Right.
worked your ass off, so give yourself one reward. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? What did you buy?
That was an F350 dually, just a big honking truck.
So you got a diesel?
Yeah.
I would have told you never buy a diesel.
Yeah. The death is freaking a pain in the butt putting that in there.
Well, no, not only that, but when those diesels break down,
Yeah, they're expensive.
the turbos,
Yeah, they got them all.
can you get a 350, or can you get it as strong as a gas truck as you can a diesel? Almost, right?
Almost. I mean, there's nothing that pulls like a diesel. And you
What
probably
do you need to pull?
I pull lots of dump trailers and trailers, lots of
But
those.
do you think a gas truck would do that?
Like it would definitely, but there's nothing like getting up onto the interstate and you have a diesel and it just goes. Those new trucks with all the torque that they have, they just eat. You know, you can be pulling 20,000 pounds and be doing 96 miles an hour easily. So,
Yeah,
and I like to go fast.
Dude, I had a tow truck business at one point in time, and we took in it from CarMax. I actually got in trouble for this, but we took it from CarMax because they didn't claim it. A 2012 Dodge Dually, whatever the big one is that the trailer, everything,
or the Longhorn or whatever it is.
the one that you always see the guys trailering cars on.
Okay.
The big Dodge Dually.
Yep.
So after we got it, we sold it, and I sold it to my buddy won it at the auction, and we pimped the car out. We put some, and I let one of my guys drive it, and Maynard, and all of a sudden it's scratched up. I'm like, sell that car. But that was a really good vehicle. We actually sold it back to Carvana for $24,000.
Carvana. Yeah. When was that? When did Carvana come around?
Oh man, I don't remember when they came around, but I know they're about ready to be out of business.
You think so?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that model. I mean, it might work, but they overpaid for stuff. When you overpay for stuff, you don't know what you're doing. I mean, if you look at their market capitalization, so you know what's funny is I started like you, where I want to just unit count, and now my goals have changed. That's why I think you're
Really.
Yeah.
You think I'll change and I'll just go to? What do you think I would change to? More.
You know, right now you're so hungry and you're so aggressive, and I think you're so wise for such a young guy that I see myself going into a different mode in these next 5 to 10 years where I start taking over businesses and companies, like going to, like I've been afraid of capital, and now I'm starting to become unafraid of capital and like going after bigger things and raising private capital. And the guys that I look up to, like Carl Icahn, like Kirk Kerkorian, like Stephen Roth, all these guys who have really understood how to like take capital and go to the capital markets and stuff like that. Like, I want to build casinos and shit. Like,
Casinos?
yeah, I literally was listening to Phil Ruffin on YouTube on my way into work this morning, meeting Danny at met at,
What's his name?
Phil Ruffin.
Phil Ruffin.
So, anyways, he goes, you'll like this. He grew up in Wichita, Kansas.
Oh, really?
He grew up in Wichita, Kansas, and he used to own a bunch of gas stations. Worked like you, 11 to 11 or 7 to 7, whatever it was. He's working like crazy. Turned one gas. This is in the 50s. Turned one gas station into 24. Then got a lease. He never wanted to sell his real estate because he loved real estate. So he got someone to lease it for $50 million. He took that lease for $50 million, went and got a $20 million loan against it, and bought his first casino in the Bahamas.
Wow.
Made so much money off that one. Bought the one in Vegas, the Treasure Island.
Okay.
He bought that during the Depression in 2008 for $525 million from my other hero, Kirk Kerkorian. And they did a real estate deal, like, owner carry back $200 million, 525 cash, and then he just bought the Circus.
Oh, wow.
But he said if you could put a hotel with a casino onto it, it's like, talk about your cash flow. So that's my next goal, is to, like, after we get a bunch of these little development projects going on with Main Street, I want to get into the casino business.
Why don't you convert this building into a casino? What's the requirements for having a casino?
I haven't looked in Missouri. I do know, but Mississippi. But I think you got to have a feeder. I think the way to do it is a hotel. Like, I just don't think you want a casino. I think you want to have a big ass hotel. That's what Kirk Kerkorian had figured out. Like,
you want all the amenities there?
Well, no. You want all the people there.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Well, you just walk down to your room and you got to walk through the casino.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I really like, because
Easy
the
just
reason
to
you're
go
saying
tap.
4,000 units is you want money.
Right.
Like, if you made the money a different way, would you care?
Probably not. No.
No. So right now I'm thinking, like, man, the fastest way to get there, faster than buying units, for me, is to build a company, take it public, and start being a developer of casinos.
Yeah, because once you take it public, then it's not really the value of the business, it's value of, like, how you sell it to the stockholders, really.
Right. It's you basically get free shares and everybody else pays full freight.
And then they split it again. You watch it just double down and run.
Well, that's what everybody I've looked up to has gotten filthy rich doing. There's not a lot of guys who have done it without understanding debt and the capital markets.
Yeah, no, debt's extremely powerful if you use it to your best interest.
Yeah. So you've used debt pretty well, right?
Yeah, I mean,
How many loans you got going right now?
oh man, it's probably close to like 50.
50 loans going right now. That's cool.
That's it.
And with local banks?
Yeah, local banks and then some hard money companies.
Which hard money ones are you using?
Renovo and Casa Lending are the two that I was using. And then, I was using Upright, but then they kind of went bust. I think they've kind of restructured. But
tits up?
Yeah. No, for sure. So that was kind of a mess. But, since then it's been good. Diversify your lenders. That's another big thing,
Yeah, you got to. I preached that from the beginning.
Yeah, don't tie all your hands up with one lender.
Yeah. So what are the local lenders that you're using?
Yeah, it's just small local banks, Bank of the Foothills, Silver Lake Bank, and there's a Community First Bank or something up there. Yeah.
And are they on a first name basis now?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Are you getting free tickets and shows and stuff?
No, not yet.
We're working on that. You got to ask.
You gotta ask.
Oh yeah, that's the best thing, especially Community Bank.
Yeah.
They got a suite at Arrowhead.
That's true. Huh.
Oh yeah, you're doing enough business right now where you can ask.
Okay.
You definitely need to be asking because they aren't going to be giving them.
Really?
Yeah, I literally asked my banker for every ticket that I want to go to T-Mobile.
No kidding.
They've got a suite.
Huh.
So I've been to every show. I don't want to go to a bunch of shows, but I definitely don't want to pay either.
Right.
So when who is it coming to town? And he likes doing it for me. I think so.
How much does a suite cost?
I don't know.
Right, so you're not paying, so you have
exactly.
no clue.
I don't know, but I mean, for me, I know is that I send him. But here's the deal. Here's the truth. I send him most, if not all, of my business
Well,
because I want to be able to ask him to go to
what's the bank you?
the guy I told you to use, David Clark.
David Clark.
But don't be starting to pimp up my tickets. You already stole my freaking my flip the other day.
Oh, bullshit.
No, that's fine.
You could have taken that one easily.
I would have called him out for like, listen, Anthony's no good flip.
He's not going to close.
He's stressed out right now. He just called me. So let's talk about the program. You've been in the program. Do you believe that it's been a good program for you?
For sure.
When you first were coming in, did you see it as a cost versus an investment?
Yeah, 100%. I think everybody probably looks at it as a cost.
Right.
And then it's not until you know the knowledge and withheld the knowledge, that you get from, all the calls that, now run 5 or 6 days a week.
Yeah.
It's not only that, it's just like the ability to be able to reach out to somebody when you have a problem and reach out to a group. Now even in the small market that I'm in, we're getting more people. There's Chris, Mike, and some other guys out there, to be able to reach out and, hey, maybe you're in a cash crunch. Anybody in real estate is going to get in a cash crunch all the time. It's going to happen. It has to happen.
If you're not doing it right, it's not going to happen.
That's true.
Because you got to be reinvesting in yourself.
Right. And so at some point you're going to get it. So you're going to need to know another real estate person. So it's great having that, ability to reach out to something. And then also, if you're starting wholesaling, it's probably something that I need to probably do, because I haven't. But
I don't think you need to do it.
You don't think so? Just keep on flipping,
I think what I told you the other day is where your head should be at.
like doing a construction.
You're more of a construction guy than if I don't see you get me on the phones and start banging them. Like, you just know how to make stuff happen.
Right.
And I think that if you're already building new houses and you're already doing all these other things, that's going to slow you down to go back and start wholesaling. And so what's going to help you get more lines of credit, more banking relationships?
It's probably doing more deals, to be honest.
Yeah. And so if you're going in and you're going rather than, and what's going to help you get your prices down on your contractors?
More projects, keeping them just where they just roll from one project to the next.
Right. So I just think you should continue to do more construction and then work out better terms with your lenders. Like, hey, be like, I don't want to put any money down on this one.
Right.
You're to the point where you probably could.
Yeah, no, so we're
like I'm going back to my bank in Mississippi. I'm like, yeah, I'm putting too much money down. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I don't think I should put any money down on these deals. He's like, I said, some of my lenders don't make me put any money down. He just, can you show them that to me? I'm like, sure. Kiavi doesn't make me put any money down. Right? I mean, just the closing cost.
Right. So just closing cost.
Yeah. So what Kirk Kokori used to have was called a signature loan. You know what a signature loan is?
Never heard of it.
Means you're good for what you're good for. Because at this point in time, your loans are not based on credit.
No, they're not based on
What are they based on?
They're based on your net worth and your cash flow.
Well, they're actually just based on your name.
True.
Because is your cash flow good enough right now to cover them?
No.
Yeah, but they know that you're a performer.
Right.
So you essentially already have a signature loan right now.
That's true.
It's called a relationship loan.
It's kind of like any line of credit that they just give you, even if it's, tied to a building or not tied to a building.
That's right. I think you just keep doing the construction. Unless you do decide to go all in on wholesaling and flipping. I just don't think you're in a big enough market unless you go to Topeka.
Yeah. Topeka, even Topeka's not that big. I mean, there's like 52,000 people there. I mean, KC is where I have to come. It's definitely the next move is to come to KC.
Yeah. Do you want to move out here?
Probably, yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's the only.
I'll have an apartment for you.
I'll probably need it. But yeah, no, it's.
Do you want to move out here? Or do you like it where you live?
I do like it where I live, but I think you kind of have to move, to keep growing and.
I totally agree.
Pushing towards that next level. If you stay around, like something that I find is like it's hard where I am, to hang around people that have a higher net worth than me. Or to be doing bigger things than me. I'm probably kind of like you said, the biggest fish, over there. It's not for my age, and so you're hanging out with 50, 60-year-olds, and so you kind of have to move to a bigger market that has maybe more financial abundancy, and I think
100%
next move, so
yeah, I moved out of Vegas for that exact same reason, just because I felt like the pond was too big.
The pond was too big, really.
Well, I mean, to compete, I'm doing great.
You just didn't feel like you were that size to compete with those, so
how do I compete with the guys who's buying $2 billion casinos, the $3 billion casinos?
Start buying $2 billion casinos.
Right, but I need to go to a market where I can dominate.
Right.
So that I can come back and build a casino in Vegas.
True.
And so, I feel like you're 100% right. But the other thing is, I do agree that moving is a good move. People say I don't want to be that guy. I'm fourth generation. If you move, you grow.
Right.
And if you get into change, you grow. I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have done all these other things. I wouldn't have had this building.
I probably would have never came over. If you were in Vegas, I probably would have never come out to there because it just wasn't local to me. So wherever you're local to, I think is where you kind of progress to.
Yeah, you have to keep growing. You have to keep growing.
Opposites or something that kind of attracts to itself. Is.
So for the people who are listening right now, who are thinking about investing in real estate, who are like you, they're watching YouTube, they're watching these podcasts, they're interested by your story, which is amazing, by the way. You've done awesome, Tony.
Thanks.
No, I'm super proud of you. You're I always tell everybody, dude, don't make excuses about how much time you don't have.
That's true.
Because that's the number one. And like Tony Fifer works 16 hours a day and was still getting it done.
Yeah, I was working 16 hours a day, working like 5 or 6 flips and 3 rentals at the time. So like three active construction projects on rentals. And I think I did like 2 new builds that year too.
So if you're saying you don't have enough time, you're bullshitting yourself.
Yeah, you're just spending too much time scrolling on Instagram.
Do you still have time to scroll?
Yeah.
That's what I always tell people. I still got time to scroll.
Right.
Do you still have time to watch the Netflix?
I never watch any movies.
Okay.
I probably watched under like 3 movies in my life.
Do you listen to podcasts?
Yeah, all the time.
So you got time to do other
Yeah,
stuff?
anytime you're driving to the next project, you throw one in the truck audio or you throw one in your earbud and you're listening to it. Yeah, stop listening to music or something, you know?
Yeah.
find
So
the
people are making excuses.
Right.
The biggest thing, I think, more than anything, is fear is holding most people back.
That's true. Yeah, they over-calculate what they're going to do. They just sit there and calculate like what they're going to actually do.
Right.
And they just never ever take any action.
I just had that conversation with one of our students today.
Yeah.
He called me when we were actually out in the streets, and I called him back, and I said, "Dude, we have fucking 6 calls a week for this bullshit. Like, no offense, but call me, ask that question on the call."
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not trying to be a dick to you, but we have 6 calls a week. I thought you needed something that was an emergency.
Right.
And you're calling me with like the simplest question. I said, you're scared of the deal. Go buy the deal. It's a good deal.
Yeah. Yeah, just run the numbers and stick to the numbers, you know?
Yeah.
Don't look at anything else, you know? Just look at your comps, know your comps, and then make sure your numbers are buttoned in. And if your numbers are buttoned in, there's no reason why you don't, jump on the deal.
So what would you tell new investors like you that are trying to get started? Do you think this is a good program? Is this something they should do?
Sure, they should definitely join. They should definitely, what is it, 8, 10, or 12 grand now?
No, yeah. So what did you spend?
I think I spent like 75 or 8,500 or something like that.
How much have you made since joining?
Over $1 million.
Was it worth it?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So the thing is, it's not about like but you saw it as a cost first. I knew I could see that in your mind. You're like, especially when you're working for your money.
Right.
It's like, dude, this guy. The first thing is this guy going to rip me off?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Second thing is, am I going to learn anything?
Right.
Is this going to be valuable?
Right.
But now you become a very good person in the community. We really like having you, man. I really appreciate it.
And I appreciate everything you guys have given to us, for all the time you guys have put into the calls and all the, resources that you guys have come up and all the contacts. That's the biggest thing, is like having the contacts, knowing who to reach out to and who to grab for. It's not even just for that deal, but it's just for, the lenders, the tax guy, the agents, reaching out to, Joe Blackshire and all those other people, Fernando, Fernando's been huge. Actually Fernando, I just closed like 2 wholesales from him, like, I don't know, it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. So just even that kind of stuff. And he's an agent, he was off, wholesale on a couple of deals, just that kind of stuff. That deal alone paid for, all the coaching, probably 4 times, what I did, so.
It's tough because there is a lot of guys ripping people off online,
Right.
which I didn't think that people would even be bold enough to do that.
It is kind of crazy.
I'm roasting a guy who's a guru right now who's about ready to get his video's dropping on Friday. He's gonna freaking wish he didn't pick a fight with me. There's just guys like that, and I like to finish it.
Yeah, all the Section 8 guys, they drive me nuts.
Dude, that's one of the guys I'm hitting.
Okay, good. Keep hitting.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, it is not that easy. Stop making it sound like it is. They're all running the same playbook.
Yeah. They are.
I'm
really
sitting in
are.
my condo in Miami.
Yeah.
I got 85 rentals off Section 8. I'm 24 years old. Come buy my program.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
No,
like, dude, you're not
100%.
telling half the story. Number one, you probably don't own those rentals. So one of those guys totally lied, and then we did a video on hey, we weren't saying like he lied. We were like, hey, these guys are not telling the truth. And then they reported me for copyright infringement, so I did a follow-up video with them. And so then he's like, hey, I'll show you what I got. I said, if you show me and I'm lying, I'll apologize on. So he starts showing me, thinking he's gonna bullshit me. I'm like, dude, you don't own that. You're bullshitting. Like this and that, the other thing. And so then he tried to hit me with an attorney. And I was like, okay, now I'm just gonna fry you. So, have you got your first lawsuit yet?
No, I just had my first eviction, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I've been pretty lucky.
What'd you learn from that one?
Just keep everything in line, make sure that, you serve the person, or you post the eviction notice, you get proof of it, you take, whoever does it, take picture of the actual contract in the car, and then take a picture of it on the front of the building, wherever it is, adjacent to their entry to their door.
Did you vet the person properly? Or
No, that was just, actually, believe it or not, that was the seller of the home. So I bought the home from a wholesaler.
Got it.
And then they,
so you inherited a bad tenant?
yeah, inherited a bad owner, I guess, and so they were supposed to move out, and they just didn't. So
It was the owner?
yeah, it was the owner.
That you bought it from?
Yeah, they were in foreclosure, and
He wouldn't move out after
he wouldn't move out after he bought it.
You had to evict him after you bought his house?
Yeah, because he thought he was supposed to get like $6,000, at closing, but he didn't get the $6,000 because what his payoff from the lender was greater. Actually, I had to come up with like $1,600 extra at closing to close the deal. So
Did you make a good deal though?
yeah, I bought it for 21, and it's probably worth like 156, 160.
What are you gonna put into it?
Probably 60.
Okay. So you gonna flip that one?
Probably, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Maybe keep it as a rental. The rents are pretty good over there. It's like 12 to 1,300. So maybe rent it, but
How do people follow your story? Are you on social?
no, not on any social. I probably should get on.
You got parents?
Yeah.
Are they pretty proud of you?
I think so.
Yeah?
I think so.
Are you a single guy?
Yeah.
So how do the girls get a hold of you?
They can call me.
What's your number, dude? Drop it.
785-844-4472.
Do you have an email?
Yeah.
What's your email?
It's my childhood email, anthony4x4benz@gmail.com.
Whoa. Anthony what?
4x4benz as in like the car at gmail.com.
4x4benz at gmail.com.
Yep.
Ladies, if you're wanting an eligible bachelor, are you taking ladies out of the country too?
No.
They gotta be homebred?
Yeah.
Kansas?
Speaking.
If you're in the Midwest, habla español?
Are you the new wingman of KC?
No, I just figured. I mean, listen, might as well, right?
Right.
If someone's listening out here, they see your story, like, man, I want to meet that guy. Even if you're a dude, you know what I mean?
Oh, no, thanks.
I meant as a friend, dude. If you want to come buy him coffee.
No, but, reach out if you got any questions, I'm a coach, reach out, we're happy to, help and answer all your questions and, get you to the next level, whatever it is, in real estate, I think
For sure.
Troy's probably the best one out there for it, especially in the Midwest, you don't have a whole lot of options, and there's probably none really. So.
Yeah. Out of zero options,
I don't mean it like that.
No, seriously. Out of everybody, we are done.
You're the number one option out of one option.
Out of every option out there, which there are none, I'm absolutely.
Just means you're a groundbreaker is what it really means.
That's right. I am a groundbreaker. All right, man. I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No worries. Anthony's going to be at our mastermind this weekend in Kansas City. We're excited. We're going to be driving by Cleveland, or we might have to skip Cleveland because
Yeah, so I wanted more time for closing.
more time for closing. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, guys.
Thank you.
Peace.
Man, I am so happy that you turned into the Millionaire Mentorship podcast. It's something that I've been working on for over 3 years right now. We're up to 150 podcast episodes. A lot of them are virtual. A lot of them are in studio, which is what we prefer. If you have a guest that you think that should be on our podcast, all you gotta do is comment who it is, and we'll reach out to them. Or if you want to reach out to them and reach out to us, we'd love to have them on a show. We're looking for entertaining, inspirational people that, just like you hear on the podcast every week, that can bring value and help our listening audience achieve their goals. If that's something for you, comment down below and let us know.